Good morning, afternoon, evening, night, wherever you're at. Hope you guys are doing well. No one's better than me. No one compares to me. Perfection. Love. The same can be said about you. Everyone is you pushed up. So, wanted to focus mainly on SP stuff and the concept of reaching a point of satisfaction where you are content with experiencing what you want to experience internally. I've asked this question before. SP example. How many times have any of you experienced a time where you inquired and asked someone out on a date and they initially were interested, right? And then let's say maybe a few days or so leading up to the actual date of the date, they change their mind. They revoke their interest. They revoke their consent to go on a date. I asked if it's possible, right, to someone, for someone to be interested in you and then change their mind, why can't the opposite also be true? Where someone who wasn't interested in you becomes interested, right? Like so many content creators, like Eric has mentioned, right? He talks about, you know, it always seems like the bad stuff happens more than the good, right? The reason that is because we've been conditioned to believe and think in alignment with the negative happening more than the positive. So much to the point that we knowingly and unknowingly think and speak against ourselves all the time. And it doesn't help that we live in a society that thrives off of negative self-talk, negative self-belief, right? And another thing, glad I remember this. I hope he makes a video on this, but I want to kind of expound on what he meant by this. Eric said something about, shout out to Eric, Power of I Am. He mentioned something about the devil not being who you think it is. Now, with me being Christian, I still believe that there's a real entity that represents the devil that comes against people. However, if he's insinuating what I think he is, then there's also another force or entity that can represent the devil. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our own ego. And particularly the identity that we've adopted from a young age based on the societies that we were subjected to. An ego that has been formed based on accepting and being content with barely having enough to survive, with being scarce, with being impoverished, with things rarely ever going right in their lives. You hear it every day. Most people will never achieve what they want in life simply because they have allowed themselves to remain programmed with a programmed satisfaction of being okay with barely having enough, with being broke, with being poor, with never having enough to go forward to do what they want to do and do their dreams. Or if they have dreams or ambitions, they cripple themselves with self-doubt, self-inflicted doubt. Oh, I'm going to go even deeper. This is more biblical Christian now, but this ties into everyone that may be listening. Now, to go more in a biblical Christian sense, not everything is a wicked spirit or a devil attacking you. Sometimes we are our own devils based on how we think and speak against ourselves. A lot of the trials and tribulations that we go through as people, Christian or other, is because of our own self-inflicted harm, because of our own negative thinking and speech against ourselves. And again, if you're Christian, okay, then you believe in the Bible that when Christ came and died on the cross and saved and offered himself as a sacrifice for salvation for mankind that would embrace and believe onto him, right? He stripped the actual devil of his abilities and powers. So, since that day, what the actual devil relies on now is us being our own devil. By feeding us lies that hinder us. He doesn't need the power he had in the past if he could convince us to speak negatively and oppress ourselves with our own thoughts and negative speak. Okay, the Bible says, Proverbs 18:21 says, the power of the tongue is life and death is in the power of the tongue, right? And those who love it will eat of its fruits, right? Powerful scripture. So true, right? He doesn't have to be a devil to us. If he could just have us in an environment or convince us to continue to think and affirm negatively and oppressively onto ourselves, he doesn't need the power he had in the past. We'll be imprisoning ourselves. But the secret is being transformed by the renewing of your mind and not conform to this world, right? Because this world teaches you to believe, to see something first, then believe it. But the faith, as the Bible describes it, tells you to believe first, then you'll see. All right, so as a Christian, I wanted to use those examples. Now, again, how that applies to anyone, whether or not they are Christian or a subscriber of another philosophy or worldview, this applies to everyone. Okay, society teaches us to believe and observe something first before we believe it, when we should actually believe it first, then we'll see it. Now, to shift gears back to SP, I want to say, in the same sentiment as other content creators, you want to get to a place where you are content with exclusively and or predominantly experiencing what you want to experience internally. Not relying on the external, regardless of what the external is showing you. Maintain what you want applicable. Okay, identify internally what you want applicable internally. Okay, become okay with experiencing that internally, whether that's imagination, SATs, whatever term, speaking, just seeing yourself experiencing that thing and allowing yourself to achieve the satisfaction and excitement within yourself without it having to be reflective externally. So that when it does come, okay, it's not a big deal. You'll still enjoy it, but you'll be to the point where you've already enjoyed it internally. Okay, and that will give you satisfaction, right? That will give you it'll help you not to rely on the 3D, as some will call it. Okay? Because as Eric says, you got to let the outside play out, right? Because the outside's already been reflective of your prior identity, your prior script that you've written in regards to yourself. But once you let that current state play out, right, and you've rewritten things with your new identity, then it will start to reflect. Okay, that's already the case with me. Okay, many aspects of my life are already reflecting externally based on the identity that I've taken on internally, right? Which is perfect, loving. I have perfect love. Everyone is attracted to me. I'm everyone's top priority, first choice, and that is reflected true in my personal and professional life. I've had quite a few experiences. I won't go into details where I could say that I found myself as being a top priority in terms of decisions being made, a top priority in terms of being consulted with in regards to things, right? Okay, and then my relationships with people in my life have improved because, again, I started viewing people as perfect, right? Now, I know externally, okay, they're not perfect. However, my relationships have bettered with people because I view them perfect. So because I've viewed them perfect, most of the time, a vast majority of the time, the shortcomings that I used to notice in people have become less frequent or almost non-existent because now I view that person as the ideal person, and thus they give me the ideal behavior that I want to experience with those people. Okay, I've done this with friends, family. I started viewing my friends and family as perfect, flawless beings, and they started more frequently behaving how I wished how I would have them behave. So if you think about it, life is sort of like a mirror. And it's so mind-boggling because there's a lot of movies and TV shows that I used to watch as a kid and adolescence, younger adult, that would be titled sci-fi, science fiction. When in reality, some of the sci-fi stuff is actually non-fiction. It's just, a lot of realities are starting to become to light now. So I thought that was interesting. To this day, the Matrix series are one of my favorite movie series to this day. And the Matrix came out in '99. I was a kid when that came out. So it's just the concept, the story was so good. And then looking back at that movie now, that and Limitless, movies like sci-fi movies like where a person has the ability to imagine themselves in the state of being that they desire. Movies like that have been of interest to me. It's so mind-boggling because now I've come to the conclusion, I've been at this conclusion for a while, that a lot of these movies and TV shows are actually nonfiction disguised as sci-fi. But that's for maybe another subsequent video. Anyway, wanted to get on here to reiterate that you want to become satisfied with experiencing whatever you want to experience internally without having to rely on the external, because you'll drive yourself nuts when it doesn't come in the level of speed that you want. Okay, that'll breed impatience. Get to the point where you're okay with you imagining it. Okay, you imagining being with that person you want to be, you having that ideal relationship, being in the end, as others would say, with that person, you experiencing the things you want to do with your person, and both of you enjoying each other, or if it's a certain type of relationship where there's multiple people, if you're into that, that as well. And everyone just being fluidly in alignment with each other. Everyone's okay with that and everything. XYZ. Money. Hey, I am financially abundant. I always have more than enough money to pay my bills, to enjoy myself, to thrive. Ever since I've had that self-talk, it's been reflecting externally rapidly. Right? So I know for me, I would say most of this time, the things I've been identifying within are already externally manifesting. The only thing that's kind of taking a little bit is my original SP. However, other SPs have been frequently coming to me. Just the original one. There's kind of a little bit of slow movement with the original SP I had. However, again, I've reached a state of contentment inside, right? Right, where I've already experienced a great relationship with SP, right? We already have a great relationship. They're in love with me. I love them. Okay, we care for each other. We enjoy each other's company. There's that. And I'm okay. So now I just occasionally look at the picture of SP. You know, I might just go on a social media site and just, take a quick glance on them, see how they're doing, and then move on, Whereas I used to obsess with SP, right? But now I'm content within, with experiencing it internally, okay? And in more transparency, it does help to have other SPs. I'm just gonna say. But as I stated in prior videos, I don't have multiple SPs for the sake of being a womanizer or having multiple partners at the same time. It's just that the other SPs that I have in mind are also people that I would be happy to internally and externally have a relationship experience with. That's all that really means. So if either of the other individuals who are also SPs were to come forth instead of my original SP, that's just me saying I would be content with them as well. I'd be glad to have a relationship with them as well instead of the original SP. So that's all I have for tonight. Hope this is helpful for anyone out there working on changing their self-talk, working on strive for a life that they've been wanting, right? Because like I said, you had to have wondered why the bad always happens more than the good, right? Because we adopted an identity where that was our reality. Change it, flip it. And when you complain, engage in positive complaining. Why do I always have so much money? Why are people always attracted to me? Why do people always like me? Why am I always chosen? Why do people always prefer me over others? Why am I everyone's top priority? Okay, start complaining positively. Okay, watch how fast things change. Be amazed. My life is easy. My life is perfect.